Welcome everyone, it's Sherry Carroll for SimonsSaysStamp.com, and I have a STAMPtember collaboration to show you. This is from Paper Artsy, and it is a 6x8 stamp set with some really fun girls who are fishing. So there's catch of the day, there's only one fish in the sea, hook, line, and sinker are the messages, and these are super fun to work with. Along with this cute stamp set is a stencil, and it has these little fishes going left and right, about 5 rows of those, and then also some maker's marks at the bottom. And I'm going to do something super fun with these stamps and stencils. I'm starting off with my Misty, and I also have my brand new black stamp and stencil mat and a piece of Tim Holtz watercolor cardstock, and I'm using the smooth side. These are cling red rubber stamps, and I'm going to pull off the images that I want to work with. So I'm starting off with this little girl and her fishing pole, and also a couple fishies to get me started. I will be doing some watercoloring and some clear embossing, so I want to use the Simon Says Stamp anti-static tool, and I'm just going to cover the whole sheet of cardstock. And next I'm using the Simon Says Stamp Clair Nocturne ink, and I'll ink these up. I love this ink because it's a really nice true black. And I'll press these into that cardstock to get a good impression. To remove my stamped cardstock from my stamp and stencil mat, I just need to bend that on the sides a little bit backwards and the paper pops right off. I cut my images apart, but you don't need to for this next process. I'm going to use some Simon Says Stamp clear embossing powder, and I'll sprinkle this all over the image. And then I'll tap off the excess and use my heat tool to heat up that embossing powder until this is dark black again and shiny. This stamp set does not come with coordinating dies, but I found it no problem to just fussy cut using my detail scissors. And now for a little experimental time. I've been wanting to do this for a while. So I have about 7 or 8 pipettes, and I just have them in a jar so I can grab them really easily. And I'm also using some Tim Holtz Distress Spray inks, and I've chosen some bright colors because I thought they would go really well with these girls and fishes. And I'll have those in the description box below so you can tell what colors I've used. So I've purchased a bunch of our aqua pens, and I'm going to experiment by adding some of these distress sprays into the barrel of the pen so I can create my own colored water brush. I'll grab some of the distress spray by squeezing the bulb of that pipette, and it releases the ink right into that barrel really easily, and it's not too messy. So I'm just going to do one squeeze, and just to make sure that everything's going to work fine. Then I'll recap the pen and then close off the spray bottle of ink. To get the ink flowing, you'll want to press onto the barrel, and it has little written push on each side, and I'm going to just give this a push until I can see the ink flow into that brush. And then I can give it a little test run to see how that's flowing. I wasn't sure if I'll need to add some water or not to the barrel of the water brush, but it seems to work just fine. I'm going to be using several colors, and I've filled up my water brushes with those. And I want to show you the easiest way I've found to watercolor is to add some intense color first, and then go in with the water brush that just has water in it, and I can move that ink around to add it to where I want. I can also go back in towards the bottom with more intense color and repeat the process using the plain water and pull that back up. So this was super fun, super easy. The colors are really clear and not foggy at all. And for my little girl, I've added in some of my lighter colors first, and now I'm going back in with some more intense pinks, and I'll do the same thing again. So I'll add in that really strong color around those edges, and then I can use my water brush and pull the color through the image. I found it really easy to blend colors together and to get another new color, and also to overlay color over what I've already had onto the image. I've added in some more intense pinks to make everything really stand out, my fishy. And then also I made sure that I could blend in those greens and orange together. And I have my extra little fishy here that was kind of my experimental guy. Next, I'm going to be working with the stencil, and I get to use some of the ink colors that I used to do my watercoloring. And I have my stamp and stencil mat taped to my glass. I also have the stencil taped down on that left side, and I'm just tapping this with that Peacock Feathers ink cube, and I can get some random color onto the stencil. I'm going to set a piece of paper towel under the stencil, and the next thing I want to do is to use my mini mister, and I'm going to spray the stencil only, and I just want to make sure that the ink just bubbles up a little bit. You can see how it's reacted with that water. And then I'll use my finger and I will press around to make sure I don't have any sharp areas from the edges of the ink cube. And once I'm happy, I can use that tape as a hinge and I can press this onto my watercolor cardstock. I'll also put a paper towel on the top, and that will keep any of the ink that's going to seep through from going into the white areas of the stencil. And then I can remove the paper towel and peel up the stencil and lay it back down, and I have the start to my background. I've continued adding ink and spritzing it down and kind of wiping that with my finger and getting a little bit more controlled color to where I want it in the areas of my background. And then I can blot up using my paper towel to make sure that none of that ink will seep through and it presses that ink into the paper. And when I'm done, I have a really colorful background. I can peel that off my stamp and stencil mat. So this is how you use the reverse of a stencil. I've allowed my background to dry really well, and I just figured this out, but did you know that you can use the Simon Says stamp 4x6 storage sleeves for your shakers? So I thought I would give this a try. I don't know why I never figured this out before, but I've slid my card into the bottom of that sleeve, and now I'm just going to trim off a little bit of edge that I can work with to close up my shaker card. And on those open edges, I'm just going to cut using my scissors and do a 45-degree angle just up to that paper. And since this is a front and back, I am creasing the back portion back onto itself. And to adhere this down, I'm using the Simon Says Stamp Terrific Tape, and this is a 1/4 inch. You could also use our red line adhesive to do the same thing. So then I will peel off the backing, and I can press this back to the back side. So when I turn this over, it leaves me with an opening for my sequins. I do like to use our triangle trays. They're really easy just to put out a little amount of your sequins first. Then you can check it out and see if you need to use more. And then I will pour more into that triangle tray again. And then I can add these again into that opening of my shaker card. And to seal everything up, I'm using the Terrific Tape once again, and I'm putting it on the flap, and then I can remove that backing and fold this right back over and make sure I have a nice tight seal. If you need to, you can crease this with your thumbnail or use a bone folder so you get a nice crisp edge. And now my sequins are securely enclosed inside. Now it's time to decorate the front of my card. So I have my girl and my fish, and I am going to pop these up a little bit, so I have put some foam tape on the back of each. So with the adhesive backing removed from my foam tape, I can push down my little girl in place and then add my fish. I've stamped out the greeting, "There's only one fish in the sea," and I cut that image apart so I had 3 different small strips that I could add to the front of the card. This was a really fun stamp and stencil set to work with, especially with those bright watercolors and using that stencil backwards to create my background. I do have all my supplies listed in the description box below, and a link to our blog post with additional inspiration using these stamps and stencils from Paper Artsy. And I hope you're enjoying STAMPtember, and I'll catch you next time.
there, I'm Heidi, Simon's mama and founder at SimonsSaysStamp.com. Thank you so much for watching our video. If you like what you just saw, be sure to press the thumbs up and subscribe to see more great content.